The book of Proverbs, verse 7 and 8. Verse 7. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it cost all you have. Get understanding. Verse 8. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. Okay, so, hi everybody, this is Christian RPG Gamers. So, I guess for today's video, so this is just a background footage I made. I think I was playing through, I was playing a little bit of some Skyrim. I was playing on the hard difficulty, and I was also playing on some survival. I think I was just going around, and I was just doing some adventuring or whatever. So, yeah, I don't really know how this is going to sound or look, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so for today's video, I guess I just want to talk a little bit about I think like Dungeons and Dragons, or really just some like, you know, tabletop style games. And I want, again, like, I guess even in this little video, it's kind of ironic, right? I feel like, you know, seek to be more positive today. Yeah, I do want to try to be a little more positive. And now, in the past, I have talked about a lot of this stuff. I mean, I still want to try to put a Christian perspective on it too. Yeah, I mean, like, I do criticize things, and sometimes I can be negative, because like sometimes it's necessary. But I do want to try to be more upbeat, more uplifting, a little more positive in life, or for the channel. But you know, so but sometimes, you know, it is what it is at the same time. So, from what I can tell, I think sometime within the next, like, probably the next couple weeks, maybe the next month, there's a new Dungeons and Dragons edition coming out. Now, I haven't actually read or really seen anything about it yet. I've heard it's coming out, and yeah, it's probably pretty cool. I don't, again, like, but I'm also kind of like, I'm kind of blind to it right now. So I mean, again, like, I'm not sure exactly what's going to be. So there's also a new Magic the Gathering set coming out the next couple days or so. Called Duskmoor, I think it's called. So that would be pretty cool. I might make a video on that. Yeah, I also have not really looked into it too much. I mean, some of my Magic the Gathering friends have talked about it, but I think it's like something like it's like supposed to be like an 80s horror movie or something. But yeah, so like you got games like Dungeons and Dragons, and to be honest with somebody, I do enjoy a lot of this kind of stuff, and like I want to try to put like a Christian perspective on this too, but like I do enjoy a lot of like storytelling, and something that I guess maybe like on more of a personal level, but I mean, something I wanted to try to do, but maybe, you know, maybe you want to try to invest in some of these things too, is I want to try to do more things like roleplay characters more, find a level of immersion more, and just, I guess, also just, to be honest, have more of like a fun factor. And because these are some things that I personally, maybe some of my own personal goals. Because, I mean, again, like, I want to be able to enjoy entertainment, but I mean, something's got to change, right? And I can't expect the world to change, so I mean, I got to do some personal change. And okay, I guess, like, I'm not sure how. I mean, I didn't really write a script for this. I'm just kind of going off what do you call it, off the fly. But one thing I think about enjoying entertainment more is, yeah, you need to add more positive aspects to your, you know, to like your feed, or to what you watch and consume every day. But sometimes you also got to remove some of the more negative features and stuff in your feed too. So like people who are always just so angry and, you know, some kind of a motorcycle. Makes me like ironic, right? Like all the negative people, like more negative people out there. But yeah, like I guess like again, like they can be obnoxious and intrusive. And there's a lot of people online, especially if you go on the internet, but like just to be honest, like just everywhere. People who are very angry and very bitter and very unhappy. And you know, they can get themselves into like your news feed, or you go on Reddit, or you go on Twitter, or you go on YouTube, or really wherever you might go. They find themselves, you'll find yourself, the more you watch them, or the more you subscribe, and the more you talk to those types of people, they get themselves into your feed, and then they become really, really hostile. And it goes into your mind, and you become what you eat. So one thing I've been trying to work more on, especially if you really want to enjoy entertainment more, or you want to play, like, you know, again, like you want to play some of your favorite games and actually have a fun, good time too. Maybe like you got to slowly cut some of those people out of your feed. It's like, again, like, because that much being angry and being unhappy and being upset and always thinking the worst about everything, it's certainly not good for your mental health and, like, you know, your enjoyment and stuff. I mean, I do think it's okay to be negative, and those things are not bad things. Those things are probably inherently a good thing in the long term, but being mad all the time is just not healthy. And say you wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, right? And you're just like really angry and mad about it. You're not gonna have a good time. You're just gonna be angry, right? And there is a time to be angry too, but you know, I mean, you don't have to be angry all the time about every little thing either. Okay, so yeah, those are some aspects where, like, you got like go on the internet, you got like the massive, you got this huge army of like quote unquote like anti-woke people, and you got all these people, and they're just so angry about every little thing. They're angry at Star Wars, you know, they're angry at, I mean, to be honest, you come up with any IP franchise that's remotely popular these days, and they're just really pissed off all the time. You know, not to be too crass, right? But they are pissed off all the time about everything. So that definitely ruins one's enjoyment of, you know, playing your game or whatever. Okay, so again, so I mean, so I've been trying to cut a lot of those, like, you know, really toxic people out of my feed. You know, I mean, sometimes I do watch and listen to it a little bit, but there's a lot of toxicity out there. And again, I'm trying to move forward in the video, but you consume yourself in like excessive toxicity all the time, and it's really hard to ever enjoy anything. So I feel like sometimes you gotta purposely force yourself in a ways to just be a little bit more upbeat, you know, so you can enjoy yourself a little bit more. And sometimes it might feel artificial and it might feel kind of fake, but like being that mad all the time is kind of artificial and fake too, to be honest. So but yeah, so like, again, like I do, okay, so like, you know, even from like a Christian point of view, right, I gotta try to spin this in a Christian point of view in some way, right? But I do think fantasy, it is a heck of a lot of fun. And yeah, like, you know, I'm playing a game like Skyrim. I mean, I've been having a really good time. In some ways, I think that really helped with things like immersion. Again, like, those are some of the things I want to start working more on, like, you know, becoming more immersed, finding more role. And I talked about this earlier. I'll just say it one more time. Immersion, role playing, having fun. Those are 3 big aspects. I also think one other aspect, if you really want to enjoy yourself and content, and this could be true for fantasy, it could be true for more realistic games, or somewhere in the middle, right? And another thing is to have some kind of a goal, like a personal, like a goal. And Dungeons and Dragons, that game does it really good. Like, you have your character's personal motivation. It's like, why does your character exist in this world? And Oh, it's like, you know, like, why do you exist? What is your what is your motivation? What is your like what is your long-term goal, or what is your plan, or like your personal desires, and like, you know, your reason for existing here on this, you know, on Earth, or whatever fantasy world you were put in, or like, again, like, you know, some kind of a, again, it could be something that's you know, probably called like feasible or reasonable or normal. It could also be just something very difficult to actually be able to accomplish. I do think this definitely helps a lot. It helps your character become more grounded in some kind of a, you know, some kind of a reality too. Like, okay, so let's just take a hypothetical example here. So say I was playing, I guess, again, some of these are thoughts that come into my mind. It's not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you gotta practice at, like, you know, like role playing or building, you know, what we call like world building. Like, say I was playing, like, you know, Elder Scrolls Online, or, you know, Skyrim. You know, maybe I want my character to become like an alchemist or something, right? And maybe it's kind of an abstract idea, but it's also something that's possible to be done. Or you're playing like again, like, you can play the video games. You also could play like the actual tabletop RPG. Again, like, say you wanted your character to become like either an alchemist, or messes around with like potions, or, you know, or stuff like that. It could be a character's background. You know, it could be flavor to the world. Again, like, you could start building, you know, your character to be like that. Then you could try to tie in, you know, a little bit of your backstory to it, maybe, and you start kind of building your world. Like what is the reason that you were put here into this world, right? Now maybe you start trying to okay, so like, again, I'm not trying to put a little bit of a Christian spin on this, but sometimes I don't always want to shove a narrative down something either. Here, double check how far is this. So okay, so say you want to become like an alchemist, right? Or then you need stuff like herbs, right? You know, again, like, even in Skyrim, you can walk around the map, and you can pick up different like ingredients, and then maybe you get like a potions workshop. And, you know, again, like, from like a Christian point of view, it doesn't have to be like sorcery. It can just be like, you know, you make potions, right? And they have some supernatural or cool, powerful abilities, or they're more realistic. Again, for this is a little more fantasy, but like, again, like, you know, like, they have like supernatural powers. That doesn't have to be something evil either. But again, like, you can get your own little workshop. You might have a little satchel you carry with you that carries a bunch of different like ingredients. Maybe you get like a bag of holding, gives you like an, you know, I don't know, a massive carrying capacity. And then maybe, you know, because, like, you know, I was playing in a D&D group. I think I made some videos in the past about it. I didn't talk about it too much, but I mean, that campaign basically ended. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there was a character where some point in our story, I'm not gonna go too deep, but like, he was basically an alchemist. He had like these different potions, and like the game master, again, it was just a really cool idea. And like, this guy, I'll talk about. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the quest, but I try not to bring too much of the real world in. So we were exploring this caverns, or like this kind of exploring some kind of a map area, and we brought this alchemist with us, and we were working together to try to basically get a bunch of valuable goodies, or what do you call it, loot, to pick up a bunch of valuable loot for our characters. And we have this alchemist with us, and so there was a point where we got into the world, and then there was like some kind of like a table, or there was like a big I'm not a gamer, and I'm sure you can tell that from how I speak. Okay, I'm not sure the best way to formulate the words or articulate. So basically, there was a place where we had to get through some kind of encounter, not really like a heavy combat encounter, but there's some traps in the world. And I think my character in the game was actually pretty strong. So he ended up picking up and moving this like table, and there was some glass cases for there was some potions, and then underneath the potions there was some kind of a recipe. And the alchemist wanted the recipes, I guess, so when he got back to his, like, you know, the world or whatever, he could duplicate them and make some new potions. And the alchemist, when we helped the alchemist out, and basically he's like, you can have the potions, but like I want the recipe. And like, you know, we were kind of like working out with him to, and those was like 3 separate times, and then that's basically all he wanted. So just, you know, because he's an alchemist. Or I think there's also some rare ingredients maybe or something that he wanted, so he could build some more potions. But I mean, that's all he was really there for. I mean, we were there for, like, you know, expensive loot or whatever. But okay, so that was just like a cool little idea of, like, you know, having an alchemist, right? And then again, like and the alchemist could set up a store. Maybe they could sell potions to other players. You know, it could promote their pot. They can promote their name in like a good way. Or you as the player, you know, you could again, like say you're doing like different random encounters, or you're walking along the sides of the roads, and you know your character has a personal motivation to, like, again, like you want to study, you know, the idea of potion making, or, you know, or herbology or biology or something. You know, it gives you a cool way to invest into the world and to become, like, you know, you can learn some more lore, or maybe the Game Master Special creates and crafts you special things for your character because of it. And then you can also give these potions to other players in your team. And then, like, you can say you're in the town and you're doing a quest, right? What you could do is, like, you know, a special NPC could, you know, could interact with you, and then again, like, you know, you could build a little bit of some story or some side missions, and again, like, you know, you could, again, like, you make a little name for yourself. You know, like, it's a great way of, you know, introducing yourself, or your way into the world. Like, and maybe this is your personal desire, or maybe, you know, and maybe you learn why your character wants to do this, or you don't have to know everything at day one either. I think that's one aspect of character building, is you don't have to, like, have your character built. You're building your character, but it doesn't have to be built necessarily immediately day one. So yeah, like, it has to come down to the idea of personal, like, desires and your interests. Okay, so from, like, a biblical Christian point of view. Now, I'm not going to try to drag it down, but, you know, sometimes, you know, the scriptures are the truth, right? So I remember there's a Bible verse that I think I was reading. In holiness, maybe God put this on my heart. Now, I don't know if this is one for one the exact place we're supposed to be, but I think it's basically along the idea of. Now, I might have to look it up too. I mean, it's not going to be a perfect quote, but something along the idea of. Basically, like, when I think it says when a mortal dies, all of their hopes, their dreams, and their desires die with them. Okay. Now that might be, again, it's a little bit negative, but it's like something that I think really inspired me to want to, like, talk about this from, like, Dungeons and Dragons, or even the idea of, like, one's personal desires, is that we do have our desires on this earth, but, you know, but when we die, our desires go with us. But yeah, but it's. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess, like, there's this idea that, you know, that, again, you have your desires, and you have these dreams, and you have these goals, but the truth is that you're only going to live this earth for so long, and then eventually, I guess your dreams are gonna, your dreams will die with you when you die, and then they'll just kind of go back to the earth. Or you either made something with them, or you didn't. And sadly, with a lot of us, I think we're just not going to make anything with our dreams. And it's kind of like one of those things. It's like a rational thought. What do you call it? It's like an objective truth and reality that death is inevitable. But at the same time, you can choose to look for life, look for things that you want to do and enjoy in this life. I guess that kind of Bible verse, it really inspires me though. I know it comes off a little bit more harsh, but it's just really good raw truth. The idea that like our desires die with us, when we die, and it's one of those things that really hits your heart. Deep levels of conviction, kind of like a waking up with a reality check too. Okay, now I'm not gonna try and make this super grim. Let me just. Oops. That didn't work out too good. Okay, let's just restart this for right now. I have a couple other templates though. Okay. But the idea of like dreams and desires of a human being, I do feel like it's definitely important. To try to find some kind of a reason for why you exist, and try to find a dream, and try to find a hope, and try to find a desire, preferably in holiness, something that can glorify God, where you can ask Him to try to help you find something, and then to pursue and seek that out, and try to find that, and try to make something with it and make good fruit of it, in holiness, glorify God with it, before you end of your life. Because you never know when your time's gonna come. Try to make something great, right? And I do think that's something about like the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, or playing Skyrim or whatever it might be, right? Try to make some good fruit. Also, just try to have some fun and experience and make something great. While you still can. And maybe you can make something great, that will live on beyond you. So yeah. So again, Dungeons and Dragons. So I think I was talking to this guy. It's called Easy Storytelling. I asked him a simple question about Dungeons and Dragons. I was watching his Kingdom Come Deliverance. I see his walkthrough. Go check him out if you want. But I think I asked him a question. Basically, I think one of his answers was the idea of imagination, and that you can imagine with your friends when you're a child. Now, that's a pretty cool answer. I do like the idea of imagination, and it's like that is something cool about Dungeons and Dragons, right? And I think too few of us ever really try to push ourselves. But yeah, I guess what are some other things that are pretty cool about it? Again, I guess the idea of immersion. Now, again, as a Christian, sometimes you gotta be a little bit careful with immersing yourself into very worldly or pagan things, but for the most part, I mean, it is a lot of fun. And sometimes to be honest, it's nice to just have a place where you can get away, from your everyday, your average everyday life, and being able to go to a little world or a group of people or something, get away from all the nonsense, right? It's you got all the insanities of the world. Sometimes it's nice to have a place where you can go, where it's just a little fantastical world and society, where all that stuff isn't gonna be there. And even if it's not an indefinite period of time, even if you only play that game for 1 hour a week or something, it's nice to just get away, from all the crazy of the world. What is it, all the politics, all the drama, all the controversies, conspiracies, just all the hateful people, all the malicious intent, or even the anxieties and the stress and the grief and the abuse and maybe even like the guilt. It's nice to just have a little like home in like, in the world that you can just go to periodically. It doesn't just like a little place where you get away. It doesn't have to be something evil. Like, you don't have to be like a bad person in a fantasy world, but it is nice to just kind of get away from your life every once in a while. One could even say, like, the idea of like, again, I know there's also a biblical teaching about this. Now, I don't know this is an absolute, this is not, obviously not necessarily directly one for one, but there is a biblical teachings about the idea of kind of like a quote unquote spiritual, like a dwelling place. I know that the Lord Jesus Christ, he talks about stuff like this in parables and passages, and there is some layers of truth to this. Now, obviously, this isn't one for one, but just having a place where you can go to, and it's like, if you were to do favors for people or help people or do good, you can get access to being part of their little family or their little world, and you become like accepted or more, well liked, or more, you become part of their world in a sense, and it's kind of like a little placement in heaven, or a little placement in someone else's family or world in a sense. And I do think something like Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know if Dungeons and Dragons exactly, but yeah, just maybe some kind of a hypothetical idea. Even a fantasy world, or some place where you go. You could be like a local card stop, like a card store or something, or a friend's house. Or could be playing on a PC or whatever it might be, right? Just having a little group where you can go to, or a place or a society, or maybe they're just NPCs, or maybe you're watching a YouTube video series. Maybe that could be your little thing. But that is definitely a net positive in one's life. It is nice to just get away from all the crazy every once in a while. Or even if you have a place where you can regularly go to, it's nice sometimes. It's pretty subjective, but I also do think it's pretty healthy for a person. Like one video game that's obvious. Obviously is a game like Skyrim. I mean, I'm kind of playing that game on and off for like 10 years or something. I don't even know exactly how long I played this, but I play it on and off. I build a new character maybe like once a year. I kind of just go through the world and I just adventure or whatever. Or I kind of build some new character slots up or whatever. And currently I've been using for this specific character, I've been playing more of like a hunter. So I think I use like some light armor, archery, and then I've been doing some smithing. I got like glass armor right now. I mean, again, like you only get so many skill points though. So like I did a little bit in some lock picking, and like a little bit in some alchemy, and like a little bit yeah, I just, again, this game just does not give you enough slots to do everything. But then again, when it comes to like loot in the game, there is a threshold of your capability. I think I'm like level 26 or something right now. Oh yeah, and then also, I mean, I've been doing stuff like, like playing survival mode. So you have to, again, it reminds me of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Like you got to eat food. There's cold in the, you got to sleep. It gets cold. You can't fast travel. You also have to use a bed in order to level up. And I mean, I also played on a little bit harder difficulty. Now it was very, very, very challenging initially, but I pushed through. And like the combat was very hard early on, but like it also makes the game feel super real, and it also just feels super good at the same time. Like, if I'm just being honest, right? Like, it seems tedious, but again, like not being able to fast travel in the world means every single time you want to go somewhere, you have to physically walk to that place, and you have to worry about your food. Now you only really have to eat about twice a day, and they have positive perks and they have negative perks. So when you're like 8 hours in, you feel drained, so you gotta sleep in like an actual bed. But then you feel well rested, and you get like a bonus for like an hour or two. And the same thing with eating. When you eat enough food, you become well fed, then you get a small bonus. And there's also there's the cold, but when you're warm and you're comfortable, then you get a small positive bonus. But at the same time, so when you get really cold in the game, it starts permanently draining some of your stats down, like your stamina. You start moving slower, and until you get more warm. So then you lose the positives and you start getting these negatives. And like when you get really hungry, it starts taking away some of your stats. Or I think the cold starts taking away your health, and then the hunger starts taking away your stamina. And you can become tired. It shuts down some of your regenerations, and some of these things, right? And it adds a lot of immersion to the world. And this is something that I really like about. Again, I know it feels like you're restricting yourself in the world, but sometimes I feel like if you really want, again, like you really want to enjoy yourself, some of these restrictions can make the game more enjoyable. And it does feel like the real world sometimes too. So yeah, no, again, like I'm not sure what name I'm gonna name this video, but again, like and like the same thing with playing The Witcher 3, and you can play the game on like Death March, for example, and it definitely makes the game more enjoyable sometimes because you have to use everything at your disposal. If you play The Witcher 3 on a normal difficulty or on easy, you don't need half of the resources the game gives available to you. You can just kind of power through the story, and you can just experience it as kind of like a normal, somewhat balanced game. Sometimes a little bit on the easy side. But you play the game on the Death March. Now you have to go through, and you have to make all your potions, and you have to make all the different what do you call them? You gotta make all the different stuff. There's like 4 different things you gotta use, and you got the equipment. Enemies are pretty difficult. You got to be smart with your resources and your leveling up, and it forces you to play the game a little bit more. Again, it forces you to play the game more intelligently, and you also want to explore the map more because you need the loot, and the side quests they feel more alive, and the world feels more alive sometimes too. And I feel like when you play a video game like an RPG game, I feel like you're giving up some of the in-game advantages that you would get, but you also are gaining things like role-playing and immersion. You're having fun. You're sacrificing some of the min-maxing. You're sacrificing some of the extreme upper hand advantages. Or maybe you get a little bit less loot, or the game wouldn't be as easy, or whatever it might be, right? But the exchanges, you're gonna have a better time, and you're gonna feel a lot more satisfied inside too. So, and I'm not saying people have to push themselves to the maximum either, but sometimes there is truth that choosing to play a game a little more on the fun side, rather than on just trying to win, can be more enjoyable. It definitely helps when playing these little fantasy games or whatever, right? Or I guess an analogy for Dungeons and Dragons. So starting out in Dungeons and Dragons, maybe one of the older ones, again, you could, you have all your starting gear, your starting money, your starting resources. You could sell a lot of your starting stuff. You could put all your pluses into using strength. You could start the game out with a huge really good combat capabilities. You could sell all the stuff you don't need. You get a bunch of in-game extra resources. You can min-max yourself to the highest possible areas that you're really, really good in a certain area, and you're really good at fighting, and you're really bad at everything else. And say you can get a +5 to your attack bonus or something, And like you just go through and on combat, and like you just crazy crack good. And or maybe you're just wearing like a loincloth or something. You sell all your other stuff, and you get this crazy good, powerful starting like +2 sword, and like you're really good at like attacking or something, or you do all these means to min-max yourself to the point where like you just are like a combat like legend or like a beast or whatever. But then like you go into you just kind of skip through all the story. You don't really care about the story very much. You're just interacting with other players at the table or whatever it might be. And in my opinion, doing this would be a terrible strategy, because yeah, you are a really powerful character, but the exchange is that you are sacrificing your ability to roleplay in the game, and you're sacrificing, you know, learning the characters and the story, and sometimes being disadvantaged in playing in a Dungeons and Dragons game. It can be a good thing, because you're not always trying to win, like quote unquote win. You're there to play the game. You're there to be with other people. And sometimes, you know, losing in a game like that, it can be a good thing. And it can build an awesome story. And you can character build, you can world build. And maybe even your failures in the game can still result in a cool story. And maybe, to be honest, maybe your character dies. And that, you know, that's bad, right? But again, like, you know, you build a really cool idea, and maybe it works, and maybe it doesn't. And I think that's just, you know, again, like, you're gonna have a lot more fun, and other people are gonna have fun too, and you're gonna get to keep playing the game probably for years into the future. Versus if you min-max and you have, like, you know, I don't know, you just like basically you auto hit everything you fight. You just kill everything in combat. You're just super good at everything. And you're just like perfect min-max in every area, and just like the one area you're really good at. And then that's just not very fun. So yeah, I would say this is just one area I definitely think, I guess, like myself or whoever it might be, you know, maybe the next time you play a game like Dungeons and Dragons, just don't try to min-max or optimize your character. Or even in a video game. Like, maybe just consider just not playing like a super optimized character. Or again, like maybe you're good in a specific area, but just try to just consider building a character who has like a reason to exist in this world, and that feels like a normal person. And then maybe eventually your character has the ability to get stronger at the game. But again, like, you know, you can you leave room for I would say, you know, just leave room to some degree to you know, to do stuff like being able to role play, you know, the character. You know, again, like, you know, just try to find like a reason for why your character exists. Okay, so this is almost 40 minutes long. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna make this, but I guess like the main point I want to say is like just try to have more fun. Focus on having fun, right? And I feel like everything else will just work itself out. And like I'm not again, like a little bit of a Christian point of view. I mean, it's like, you know, I guess like, you know, in holiness, like, you know, trust in the Lord, you know, put your faith in Him, and he will make everything work itself out. You know, one way or the other. You know, even in death as a Christian, you're still gonna find eternal life. And yeah, I guess as I would say, probably like the final notes I would say is, you know, choose to have fun. You know, have fun over efficiency. Again, it's just always worth it. Like, you can look back 10 years from now, you had fun in the game, you had a great time, you built these great, you know, you built a great audience or whatever, or you built a great, not like an audience, but like you got to play in a group of people together for like months or years. Like, you're the winner at the end of the day. You had a good time. And again, like, you don't have to have fun by being like an evil monster either, but being like a hero. But you should be more like a hero. But yeah, choose to have fun, if at all possible, and then choose to, you know, maybe slowly let some of your min-maxing and your like excessive like loot whoring or whatever, or being like a loot goblin. Maybe just let some of your your high efficiency, kind of let that go a little bit, and just have a little more fun. I think you'll have a better time. You'll be able to enjoy your life, or your little your life away from your your real life, right? But yeah, choose fun over efficiency. Thanks for watching. I suppose, as I've been trying to say more in the comments, let me know your thoughts below in the comments. What you think about this, or if you play Dungeons and Dragons, let me know some of your experiences you've had in the past, and how are some ways that you think you could become more immersed into the world, and or what are some of the names of your characters, or what kind of builds you play, and again, just how what are some ways that you've had fun in the past? I guess you could say, I would say more like clean fun, right? But yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. God is good.